So, hello and welcome along to another edition of Isolation Interviews for Hospital Radio Reading and for my YouTube channel. And I am super excited to be joined by a super talented actress, performer. She does comedy, she does it all. The fantastic Arabella Weir, MBE. How are you? Welcome along.
Thank you very much. Slightly always think it's funny when people say MBE because I think, oh yeah, no, I have got that. But it's doesn't make a huge part of my life. But yes, it's a pleasure to be here.
Now, if you don't mind me asking, I wanted to ask a bit about the experience of finding out about your MBE. I mean, how did that come about? That must have been such a lovely little sort of honor to get.
Well, eh, um, yes, of course it's an honor. I mean, obviously, I'm not in the slightest bit a supporter of, well, not obviously, but I'm hardly all about the empire, and the empire has some very bad connotations, as we all know. But I think really, and I hope anyone listening to this pays attention to this bit, if nothing else, because anybody can write in. It's not the crown or whatever it is, the empire, ha ha. It's not the palace going, oh, who do you think's great? People write in, presumably professionals, but often it's like, our lollipop lady is fantastic. And so it was really finding out that the people who'd written in and campaigned for me to get it had such a high opinion of me, more than, because it was then, the palace was not sitting around going, she's quite funny. Why don't we give her an MBE? Quite like her stuff. I love Does My Bum Look Big in This? So, Princess Anne wasn't sitting around, oh, do you know who I like? So it was finding out what it took and the friends who'd campaigned to get it that I found particularly touching.
Now, let's go back. I wanted to ask a bit about how you kind of got into, your career. And I mean, what are your earliest memories of knowing that performing, being funny? Where did that all start for you? How did you know that was what you wanted to do in, the world of acting, performing, all that sort of thing?
Well, as I've often talked about, I had a pretty unhappy childhood, and I was not particularly trying to think of the right word. I wasn't, I would say I was sort of emotionally abused by my mum. And, there was a lot of I wasn't good enough and I was too fat and I wasn't pretty and all these things. But I found out, and obviously it wasn't by design, but at a very young age, I can't remember the first time, but certainly primary school, I found out that I could be funny. And I think the funniness came out of the fact you'd call it cheeky, but I was also pretty fearless. And I think funny people are often fearless because, of course, you're saying the thing that everyone else in the room is thinking. Let's say my teacher's skirt is stuck into her pants, uh, and the whole class is sniggering, but I'd be the kid to go, Miss, Miss, we can all see your pants. Um, and obviously, I got into a lot of trouble, but that's when I found the kind of power of being funny. And I think I found the power of being funny through being fearless. And I think I found the fearlessness through knowing that I wasn't, in inverted commas, good enough for my parents. And therefore thinking, well, if I'm not good enough, then it doesn't really matter because there's nothing at stake because I'm already outside the club. So I'm already not in the very pretty going to Oxbridge, whatever type of club. So I might as well do it because apparently I'm not acceptable anyway.
I mean, do you remember the first time that someone said to you, or the time that you realized in yourself that actually you can do it and that you are good? Do you remember that sort of moment
Well,
for
I remember
yourself?
the first time I made an entire classroom of whatever it was, 28 girls burst into laughter. I mean, like extraordinary laughter. I'm afraid it was at the cost of a teacher, but, or rather a teacher's, carry on that day. And obviously I'm not particularly proud of that, but it was, I'd gone into a long, elaborate, kind of sarcastic back and forth with her. And then I just said something, and she lost it, of course, because the whole room burst into laughter. I remember thinking, oh, that's a good feeling. 30 people laughing. I She's dead now, the teacher, and I am not proud of that. And I would not be proud of my kids if they'd done something like that. But it is the first time I remember thinking, oh, hello.
And I mean, obviously, over your career, you've had so many amazing projects to work on. Someone that you've worked with quite a bit, actually, Harry Enfield. I mean, where did you first meet him, and how did working with him come about?
I won't be able to tell you how I first met Harry because I can't remember. But in those days, we're all in our 60s now, and that it's quite a small group of that age of comedians. So we all sort of knew each other. Not, I mean, it sounds like again we were in some fantastic club. We weren't. We were all just doing comedy. Some of us already a little bit on television, uh, and we all thought each other was funny, pretty much. And then I just, of course, it sounds awful now, and I hope people wouldn't do it, but Harry was a bloke, and Harry'd be writing sketches, brilliant sketches, but of course, he would need a mum, a teacher, a parking attendant, whatever, a girl. So, and 9 times out of 10, it would say girl in sketch. That was it. Um, but I liked working with Harry, and I didn't really have any sort of feelings at the time about, oh, wait a minute, I shouldn't be girl in sketch, but because it was his show, so he was writing his characters, and needed foils in them. And then I met Paul and Charlie through him, but I'd already been working with Alexi Sale a bit and Lenny Henry, all blokes. And yeah, but I knew Paul and Charlie sort of separately, and then I met, and then they said, "Oh, come and work with me and us," and then that was that. So that was very pleasing.
I mean, obviously, the great thing with television is you can reach an amazing audience, and it one of the things that I know quite often people find a bit odd is the whole notoriety, people knowing who you are and wanting to talk to you. Did you find that strange, or did you quite like that as a, sort of people coming to talk to you and wanting to, f find out
No,
about
I
you?
never, funnily enough, because I've got such a sort of flamboyant, big personality, I'm the person who talks to people on the bus. I'm the person who goes, "Oh, don't do that," or "Where are you going? Get off at the next stop, not this one." So I'm a sort of, I suppose, an old village biddy if I lived in a village. But I think the only thing I've minded is when people go, "Oh yeah," which they do. Um, "Oh, I like you, but you're not as good as blah." And I've noticed, I may just be saying this as a feminist, but I've noticed they do it more with women. There's a more of an entitlement to go, "Oh yeah, you're the girl, you're that one off that show. I don't love that." And you kind of wonder, you think, would you do that to a bloke in my position? But yeah, I mean, 9 times out of 10, you're just delighted that people like your work. But when they start telling you, what you should be wearing, but I've spent my life with my entire family going, "You shouldn't have worn that. You look stupid in that. You don't," you know what I mean? So people telling me what they think, isn't that alien to me?
Now, one of the projects we have to talk about was the sitcom Two Doors Down, which obviously, I mean, I feel like it should have run longer than just the three series. But I mean, how
No,
did
no, it
you?
was 7 series.
Was that? Oh, do you know what? Blame
Seven
it.
series,
There
three
we go.
specials, and we've just done a Christmas special.
There we go. I'd say that don't trust everything you read is basically what I'm saying. I mean,
That's not a bad adage to live by.
I mean, I've only come to it recently, so I feel very bad. I'm still a newbie to the series, but love it. I mean, how did it come about for you? Because I say it's just a lovely sort of comfortable show to watch. People can just enjoy it and just forget about the world. So how did you become involved in it? And you must have loved
Well,
being.
despite my accent, I am actually Scottish, and the writers knew me, and they knew I was a genuine Scot because I don't think, I mean, maybe I could have done it, but I don't think I'd have been likely to get that unless they, my parents were Scottish, and my heritage is Scottish, and I did an audition, sort of audition, a kind of. So don't be anybody who's listening to this, don't be in any under delusion of kind of, yes, it's just like being Meryl Streep, you just get offered scripts after scripts. So I was asked to read for it, and then I did, and I read the script, and I thought, I really, really want to do this because it was all so familiar. My character might as well be either of my grannies. And yeah, I loved it. And I got on so well with the writer, one of whom has died now, Simon Carlyle, and his partner, Gregor Sharp. And not his writing partner, not his other kind of partner in modern parlance. And I just love doing it. And I love being in, we shoot it in Glasgow, and I love being in Glasgow. And of course, Scotland is home for me. So, and I think the sitcom, it's very much a Scottish royal family. It's a bit less coarse. There's not quite so much, arse scratching and stuff. But yeah, it's very much of that ilk.
I mean, the great thing with the show is, like I said before, that it's just easy to kind of get lost in it. There's always, there's characters you love. There's some characters you think I know that and they're annoying, and I know them in my own life. I mean, you must love. I mean, your character's quite a nice one because she's kind of the sensible one. I think it's safe to say, and maybe the
Yes,
more grounded.
she's the person I absolutely am not in life. She's the kind of peacemaker and the team maker, and not the one doing, I'll tell you what, that's no good. And so sometimes I think, oh, I wish I could do some of the really disgusting things that the other women, Elaine and Doone, get to do. But yes, I love the writing. One of the things I love about it, and always loved about it from the beginning, is the two young characters who are a gay couple. There is That's not a feature. It's not like it's a sitcom about a family with a gay son. It's just like it's not a sitcom about a family with two sofas. The my son, my character's son is gay, and he's got a partner, and any jokes that are about their sexuality are at the cost of the other character. That it is not a sitcom about the neighbors going, oh, they've got a wrong un, or there's none of that sort of 70s or even more recently jokes where the joke is that it's a given that everybody will think it's odd. They're just an ordinary couple, and any stupid jokes, yeah, are at the expense of the characters, other characters, not the gay characters. And Simon was gay, one of the writers, and I think that was a hugely important. So I think that's one of those things that's a subliminally appealing about the show, but you're not going, oh, isn't it marvelous because the gay characters are just normal people. I think it's just one of the things that's a sort of a rich strand to why the show is successful.
I mean, obviously, I mean, it's been going since 2016, I believe. And I mean,
Yeah.
for you, did you ever think it would run that long? And you must love the fact that it's still as popular now as it was when it first started. And I
It's
think
more popular than it when
more
it
popular,
started.
exactly.
I love it. Unlike stuff I've done that I've been the author of, I have nothing to do with the scripts. They're just given to me. But I really admire Gregor and Simon. And also, I know how incredibly hard it is to get an ordinary sitcom to hit an audience because it has to be so believable, so real, so recognizable. You've got to watch a sitcom and think, oh my God, that's like my awful neighbor, or that's like my terrible uncle. If you're watching a sitcom about Martians landing, you're going to go, what? There might be the odd joke in there, but it's very hard. And so really what I live in admiration always of Gregor and Simon, because I think it's very hard to write something that is really properly funny, but 100% believable and relatable. That relatable? Relatable, yeah.
Now, obviously, outside of, Two Doors Down, you've had an amazing career. You've done so much. But for you, is there a project you're most proud of? Is there something that for you just is that extra special for any reason?
Because I wrote it, I'm going to have to say it would be Posh Nosh. So that was the spoof cookery show that I wrote with John Cantor, and um uh and it's a spoof cookery show, and my husband is played by Richard E. Grant, and I just had an absolute riot doing it. I mean, I've had a fun doing all the jobs done, but if you haven't seen it, the only place you can get it now is on YouTube. It's called Posh Nosh, and we came up. I What happened is I was watching a cookery show, and I thought there was the kind of snobbiness of all the sort of things you had to have. And and you would in this was a serious cookery show, and the person was saying, so if you're really serious about this, you'll use this kind of cheese or this kind of butter, and you're thinking it's 20 quid a kilo. Um, and so I thought, oh, I'm just going to write a thing. And then I wrote it with my friend John Cantor, where we just make up ridiculous things like, if you're serious about this, then you have to get the ferry, summers only, to the Isle of so and so and pick up this one mushroom, because that's what those kind of cooks are like. And you think, I'm feeding two children. Don't tell me I've got to get bataga and other things I've never heard of. And so, yeah, that's probably the thing. I suppose because I wrote it and I starred in it, and Richard E. Grant was so incredibly brilliant playing my obviously gay husband. And big treat for Doctor Who fans, because David Tennant appears as two separate characters, both of whom are very friendly, shall we put it, with Richard E. Grant's character. So that's probably, I absolutely loved doing that. But listen, I feel lucky to have done most of the jobs except for the crap ones, because the statistical odds of getting any acting work or comedy work is pretty high. So I feel very lucky to have done all the bits I've done. But that sounds like, but yeah, Posh Nosh has got to be my, probably got to be on my gravestone.
And I mean, the fact that you must love the fact that your career is quite varied, because not just, the performing, but also getting to write and decide your own projects as well. That imagine that must be quite nice, because you can kind of write the roles that maybe you think aren't out there, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, but it's not true. It was true for Posh Nosh and it was true in the Fast Show, but I wouldn't say now. I mean, I don't know. You always feel like you're pushing a boulder up a hill. I mean, mentioning her again, I dare say Olivia Colman and Meryl Streep don't spend their lives feeling like they're pushing a boulder up a hill, but there will have been a time. Um, I feel lucky that I got kind of purchase, that I got seen in an industry with, very, very high unemployment. But I wouldn't say um, would I say, I feel lucky. Look, I feel lucky to have had work and to earn a living doing a job I love, because I think doing a job you love is a hard thing to get away. But I don't know that I would say that every that everything I've ever written for myself by no means has been commissioned.
It must be nice though to have that, that freedom to even just to experiment, because I know not everything gets picked up, but sometimes, things come natural, and the writing process, you might write one thing and then end up with something completely different
I
because
think the thing that's nice is when you've got a voice and you know how to express it. So I've written books, as you know, and then written characters for TV, and even if they don't get picked up, it is very good fun sitting there, sort of writing a voice, um, writing a thing you want to do and expressing that voice. I've been very lucky. I haven't done it for a while, but I used to write quite a lot of articles for The Guardian and for The Independent and other things. And I quite like that, because no wonder journalists like, the sort of soapbox of, but I was always trying to be funny and obviously wasn't writing about sort of modern politics. Well, not obviously, I'm sure I could. But what I mean is I wasn't going, oh, this is a terrible bill they're trying to introduce. Um, but I always enjoyed that, being funny about sort of things that people would relate to in a newspaper. So yeah, yeah, I've had a voice and I'm very lucky. I was going to burp and that would sound really great. I was trying to swallow a burp, and normally I don't do that, to the much to the dismay of my children. But yeah.
I mean, say your I should say your career has been, like you said, you've been working pretty much since, and I hope I get this right, but since sort of the beginning of the 80s. Is there still something that you haven't done yet that you would love to do, like a dream or a bucket list role or project you would love to work on?
Yes, I'd really like to be in one of those costume dramas, Bridgerton or Downton Abbey. And frankly, I can't believe I haven't been, because I've certainly got the posh credentials. And I always think, oh God, I'd love to be wearing a bodice all day. I probably wouldn't. I'd probably be sitting there going, I can't get it off. But yeah, I'd love to be in a costume drama. I don't know why, just because they always look like quite a lot of fun and you get to do sort of old-fashioned acting. I think my carriage hasn't arrived. And I always think, oh, that'd be quite a laugh. But yeah, so I'd love to be in one of those things that seem to be sort of, quite fashionable at the moment, costume dramas. But let's see. That's probably,
Fingers crossed. Now that you put it out there, you never know what can happen. So
hey, true.
now, obviously, we are broadcasting to the patients of the Royal Berkshire Hospital here in Reading, but to anyone who's sort of listening in a hospital, what message would you like to say? First of all, to the staff, and they obviously work so hard and so tirelessly, but what would you like to say to them?
Well, I'm indebted to the NHS for many, many reasons. I would fight for it to my dying breath. I cannot believe people, the spirit, the indefatigability, just the commitment that I mean, I've had a nurse be rude to me once, but I'd still give her my life if I had to. And yeah, I'm in constant awe and admiration and indebted. And to the patients, well, keep your pecker up, because I've been in hospital a few times and it's no joke. And it's not actually the food. I was brought up with such disgusting food that I always think hospital food's a bit of a treat. But I think if you're a long-term patient, oh goodness, I mean, the longest I've spent is a week, and that was I got bored very quickly, but that's because I felt like a caged animal. I think if you can walk about a bit, but I mean, what do I know? Just be nice to other people, be nice to the staff, and make friends. Always make friends, because you will always find someone to talk to in hospital. You'll always find a patient. They might be on every level a different person to you, but you will find something in common. And yeah, and if you talk to people in hospital and are friendly and kind, rather than kind of, oh well, they're in their pajamas, or this is a bit weird. I just think make a friend. Always make a friend, or make as many friends as you can in hospital.
And obviously, another thing they can do if they've got plenty of time is get onto BBC iPlayer, check out Two Doors Down if they haven't seen it yet,
Obviously,
of course.
obviously, get Two Doors Down. You will not be disappointed.
And then they can go to YouTube and try and find Posh Nosh. And
But
and
only after they found Two Doors Down
there we
on
go.
BBC iPlayer.
But I was going to say, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for giving up your time to talk to me. You are welcome
Sorry
back
about the
anytime.
interruption.
That's all right. And
of
yeah,
my
thank you again.
domestic. Thank you so much. It was a real pleasure.